Hey monkeys, how you doing? Damien Keys here. Let's talk CVs because it's coming into December. 'Tis the season to be jolly.
Happy Christmas.
I get a lot of CVs in December. As it happens, I have been looking for some fresh blood to come into the office to get involved. There's some new jobs going, but I do generally get a lot of CVs in December. Probably a lot of people thinking about the new year and wanting to make changes in their life. You'll be putting CVs out. A lot of you guys have been to music college and you've put your CV out and you're not getting a lot of love. There's not a lot of luck coming back with you getting some jobs. And I think I can help because I see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of CVs and most of them are terrible. So I'm going to do a video on the top 5 things that drive me mental about CVs. Okay, before we get started, I want to ask you a question. What is the job of a CV? It's not to get the job. I know that sounds ridiculous, but the CV is not there to get you the job. The CV is to get a foot in the door. That's all we're trying to do. This is a simple marketing technique, just like an advert. An advert is not trying to sell you something. An advert is trying to just get you into the frame of mind, get your foot in the door so they can sell you something. And it's the same thing with a CV. What we're trying to do with a CV is get your foot in the door so someone says, actually, this person could be quite good. Let's invite her down and have a chat with her. And it's at that point you can sell yourself. So this is foot in the door. That's all we're trying to do. Number 1, you had half a stage and they had half a shave. Number 1, we shared the stage with. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? We shared the stage with. When someone says, my band shared the stage with Ed Sheeran, does that mean you had half a stage each? Did it mean you bought half a stage? Does it mean that you played on the same stage on the same night? Does it mean that you've been to a certain venue and played a gig that one time Michael Jackson had played? It means nothing at all. It's just something that you're clutching at straws. Now, one thing you need to know about CVs is the person on the other side, the person getting the CV, looking through the CVs, they're not stupid, okay? So when they look through that and they say, you've shared the stage with Ed Sheeran, they're not thinking, wow, that's amazing. It just means that you might have done some festival where you opened up the festival and 3 or 4 hours or even days later, Ed Sheeran was the headliner. It doesn't work. If Ed Sheeran drives past in his car and then the water goes on you, Ed Sheeran's car splashing you doesn't count on your CV. So stop saying you shared the stage with, because all it does is it makes you look more small time than big time. And this is what it's about. Number 2, this is brilliant. When bands add up the amount of years they've been playing and they put it into their experience. With over 25 years experience collectively, and you think, well, they're all 25 years old. So effectively that means if there's 7 of you in the band, you've all got 4 years each. Like this is one of those clutching at straws desperation things that people are trying to make themselves look big or trying to make themselves look more experienced. And it doesn't really work. And it sounds silly, but this is something that I get on CVs all of the time. With 20 years collective experience, it doesn't say what sort of experience, how much experience, it just says 20 years. It's just picking a random number and it just doesn't mean anything. So number 2, when you're going to put something on your CV, make it mean something or don't put it on at all. Again, don't forget the golden rule, which is the person on the other end of the reading of your CV has probably done this thousands of times and they can read between the lines. I'll tell you a story. One time I was at ACM, I had a CV came through and big part of the CV, the guy had put on there the guy who I was playing for. So I was thinking, wow, that's amazing. I've been on all of these gigs and I don't remember you being there. And it turns out that he was like the road crew of a support band and he'd kind of just slightly embellished it. It's just too easy to get found out. So your best bet is just stick to the facts. Number 3, and this is a big one. This is one that I think you'll relate to. If you've been to music college, don't put your teachers' names on your CV as part of your experience because we can see through that instantly. Like I've had 10,000 CVs come through saying Chad Smith, and I'm like, no, Chad Smith coming into the room and playing drums in the corner and you watching isn't you playing in the Chili Peppers. It's a very different thing. And if you've got a teacher that once played for Jamiroquai, you can't say that you were in Jamiroquai. It doesn't work like that. So just because you've been taught by someone who's in a famous band, it doesn't mean anything for your CV. Once you say that you've studied at ACM or you studied studied at BIM, or you've studied at Berkeley, or you've studied at the Royal College of Music, that's enough. We know the rest. The people who are hiring musicians, we know. We're not stupid. We know who teaches at each college. We probably know them personally, but we definitely know who they are. So you don't need to go into detail and try and embellish and pretend that your CV is full of these names. And it isn't just cram in another name and name drop as much as possible, because we can just see through them. So don't put your teachers' names on your CV as part of your experience. Number 4, the covering letter. You would be shocked at how few people add a covering letter to their CV, which is the most important part of the CV. The CV is stats and facts and things that you have done in your education life and in your experience. But the covering letter is the personal bit. The covering letter is saying, please give me a chance to come down and do an interview with you. Like, a covering letter doesn't have to be long, but the covering letter is the introduction. It's like you walking up to someone in a bar and just starting a conversation from the middle. You need to actually have the introduction, and that's what the covering letter is. It's a chance for people to get to warm to you. But probably 50 to 60% of the CVs that come through, they don't have a covering letter. So do yourself a favor and write a covering letter on every single time you send a CV out to a company. Number 5, expected salaries. Now, a lot of the time, companies won't put the expected salary down exactly because they want to see who comes through. And they might be flexible with their salary. But here's a tip, and it's not on the CV. When someone asks you what you want for a salary, think carefully. Don't just pluck out the top end, and don't do this kind of bartering of, I'll go in at the top and then they'll come in lower and we'll meet in the middle. I know it sounds like a good idea. It's not a good idea. What's better is to research salaries of the area and to think about it from your point of view of what experience you have and what you bring to the party, and then be realistic and be patient in order to come in at a certain level and build up to that salary. Because I'm getting people come through that when we say, just so we know, what's your expected salary? And it's people who've graduated a year before and they want 30 to 40,000 pounds. So you've got to think of it carefully. Now, if I've got someone coming in who's 40 years old and has got 20 years experience and they want 40,000 pounds, and you've got 1 year interning experience and you're 22 years old, who am I going to give the job to? I'm going to give the job to the guy with the experience for that money. However, you have the power, because when it comes to the salary, when it comes to your youth and your sort of work levels, you can definitely match the experience, but you've got to find a way to match that experience. You can't just go in and say, yeah, it's 40 grand, we're both on the same path. You're not. So don't expect the same salary as someone with a high-end experience, and be prepared to fight for this job when someone asks you what your expected salary is. So that's 5 things that drive me mad, but here's 5 things that you can do instantly to improve your chance of getting work, especially in the music industry, which is a creative field. There's not a lot of jobs in the music industry and everyone is fighting for the same jobs. So these are a few ways that you can actually get ahead of the game. Number 1, do your research. Sounds silly, but I interview so many people that haven't quite researched the company enough, and it only takes an hour or two to really go into depth and research the company that you want to work for. So make some notes for yourself and actually spend that time. It's like an hour, it's 2 hours, but it will make all of the difference, because there's nothing worse. It's a big turn-off when you're interviewing someone and they just haven't researched the company properly, and you're thinking, are they lazy? Could they not be bothered? Are they too busy? It didn't give the right first impression. This is a way that you can get ahead of the game, and also you'll probably be able to find out what that company does in a bit more detail and find a couple of extra things that you can bring to the party, which makes you more employable for that specific role. Number 2, make something specific for the job. And I don't just mean the CV, which we'll come on to in a bit, but why not make something specific? This is a creative industry. So if you're going to go into a creative job or a creative industry, why not make something great? Why not make a CV video? Or why not make a package that comes through which you've actually made something? I saw a great thing on a YouTuber called Sarah Dietschy's site the other day on her YouTube, and someone had asked to be her intern, and they'd sent through this pack of cookies with her name on it, and there was like a milk carton, and on that milk carton it said missing, and there was a picture of this guy's face and it said one awesome intern, and it was just very clever to get you in. Don't forget, you can play on people's egos. I know people say that it doesn't count. It absolutely does count. When you can make something specific, because again, this is creativity. If you're a creative and you've got the power to be creative, then be creative. Do something special that gets you to stand ahead of everyone else. If you're just sending CV after CV and then thinking this isn't working, it's because there's too much noise. There's too many options for employers like me to pick from. So therefore, you either need to be top of your game, top experience, or you've got to bring something else to the party. Number 3, the design element of your CV. Now this is the gamble, because I get a lot of people that put pictures of themselves on their CV, and I'm not against it. It's not something I'm against. I know a lot of colleges think it's really cool and exciting and hip to put a picture of yourself. Great, it is, but it's not revolutionary. If you want to do something revolutionary, make a fucking great video or something amazing. But when it comes to the design and layout of a CV, if it were me, I would hand it to a designer. If you're not good with graphic design, I'd put everything into the CV on Word, and I'd actually pay someone to actually design it properly, because the colors that come through, where some of you guys are thinking it's a really great idea to make it look all cool and wacky, but you're not graphic designers and it looks like it's been done on clip art, and that doesn't give a good impression. So give it to a proper designer and say, do me a favor, I've got all the information here, make this look better than everyone else's. And if that happens to include a picture, great. But that's not what this is about. This is about making sure the font sizes, the colors are actually thought about, and they actually stand out above everyone else's CVs. So if you're not sure, don't do it at all, because it's the information that I want that's on a CV. But if you can make it stand out by making it look really, really good, do it. But it is a gamble, and don't send through CVs that artistically look shit. Number 4, tailor your CV to the job. So just because you've got a CV, everyone's got different skills and it's different experience, and you might have worked some office jobs and you might have got certain gig experience, but you can't whack it all into one CV and just one size fits all and send it to everyone. Now, this is stuff you should be learning at school, but I'm still getting these CVs all of the time where they've just crammed everything in and half of it is not relevant to the job that I'm looking for. So tailor your CV, take your time. Think of it like this: there aren't many jobs in the music industry, or there aren't many jobs for being a creative. So every time an opportunity comes up, this is your chance, not just to send a CV through, this is your chance to get ahead of the game. Whether you create something special, whether you make a CV which is specific to this role, either way, you can't just be sending the same CV to everyone all of the time and then just getting more and more disheartened. It doesn't work. So tailor your CV to the job, and again, do your research. And number 5, and lastly, and this is a big one that no one does, and I still think this is the most powerful bit of information of this entire video. When it comes to you wanting a job and you sending your CV/covering letter, you need a call to action. Now, your call to action is very simple. Again, we're looking for a foot in the door. Your call to action is, give me the gig, or give me a chance. More importantly, give me a chance. Because when someone says, I really want this, I really want to work for you, it's playing on my ego, and it makes me think, oh, I kind of want to work with you now as well, because I like that excitement. I hate it when people play it cool and they go, yeah, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. No, fuck you. I don't want that in my company. I want someone that says, we're going to take over the world. And I get excited. I want someone to come through and say, I love your stuff. I love what you do. I would love the opportunity to show you what I can do. No one does that because of pride and because of ego and because they might get shot down and not get the gig, and they've put out their feelings and all of a sudden it's got shot down. But I promise you, from an employer's point of view, I would much rather work with someone who says, I really want this. I really want the opportunity to show you what I can do. I'd much prefer that than someone who's not too fussed and is more experienced. So you've got to think of what sets you apart. Now, if you're young and you've just graduated, like, you have the power because you can work for less money, because you can work harder, because you can make sacrifices that someone who's 20 years older than you probably can't because of mortgages and car payments and all that kind of stuff. You probably have got a little bit more of an eye on the ball when it comes to certain social media and certain technical aspects of being a creative. You've got to use what's in your arsenal in order to get the job. This is a fight. That's what this is. This is a war, and it's a fight on how you are going to get this job. And so you've got to use all the skills in your arsenal to be able to get your foot in the door so you can sell yourself. And there's nothing wrong with actually saying, a bit like in if you've seen 8 Mile with Eminem and the last big rap battle, he just looks and he just says, here's all the shit about me. Yes, I live in a trailer park. Yes, I live with my mum. Yes, I have a friend who shot his dick off. And then he just turns to the guy and says, tell these guys something they don't know about me. So he's basically acknowledged it, but you can do this in a certain way where you're basically saying, without saying it out loud, I know I'm young. I know I haven't got the most experience, but I tell you what, I'll work harder than everybody else. I will make this work my bitch. I will make you proud of me. And that is a very powerful message. So those are my top 10, well, my 2 lots of 5 tips, although 2 times 5 tips is a shit title. So we'll stick with 5 things I hate about a CV. But you can see a few things there that drive me mad. I'm someone that over the last 20 years have had thousands and thousands of CVs through, and I can see through most of them. So just be honest and just put the message that you want to get across through to me, and it probably will stick. And take your time and make something really exciting with your CV and with the opportunity that's available to you. I'd love it if you like it, love if you subscribe, especially to YouTube. Come and hit me up, send some comments. I need some more questions for the hashtag Ask Damo Show. If you put hashtag 60min_win, then there's a good chance you can win a t-shirt or a face-to-face with me, or a Skype if you're not in the area, and we can have a natter and we can talk about your band, we can talk about your music, we can talk about your social media. So just get involved in the community. Come and say hi, like the stuff, get involved in the community, and I will reciprocate. Otherwise, see you guys tomorrow.